there, welcome back to another show. Today I'm going to talk about Ginger Snaps, which is a Canadian horror film made like the late 90s, released in like 2000. It was like one of those films that came out, the genre fans heard about it and liked it, but it took its time to actually find an audience. Then there was two sequels. There was Ginger Snaps Unleashed and a prequel. Neither of which I've seen. So I'm just going to talk about Ginger Snaps. I've got them now, the sequels, but I haven't seen them yet. So I just thought that the first one's strong enough to talk about without having to tie to the sequels just now. So here's Ginger Snaps. So basically it's about the werewolves. But it's done in a psychological way, much more similar to like Cat People, the original Cat People, or the other Turner films where things happen, but it's all about how it affects the people more than lots of throat slitting and things. There is gore in it. I mean, there's plenty of gore, plenty of dark humour, but it's not the focus of it. This is much more like a horror movie where the gore is just part of the arena. I mean, Canadians are quite good at this actually. Them gore does seem to be genuinely in their horror films, just part of the storytelling. It started with Cronenberg. I think his good influences moved on where basically in a lot of Canadian films you don't seem to get this thing of the gore is just a set piece and then it's separated from everything else. There's just feels it's part of the story, and you need a strong stomach sometimes. It's not a big deal. And that's what this film seems to be like. It's like it's just life. Just get over it. So it's about like these two sisters who are bonded very close. They don't get on with their peers like at all. One of them is really smart. Bridget is really smart. She's upper grade because she's so smart, and people have high expectations of her as she's on in life. The other one, Ginger, is a more moody one. She's the first child, and she's moodier, and she's got a kind of chip on her shoulder a bit. Like she's the boss of the relationship. She's the alpha. She's got a very dark sense of humour. But they genuinely love each other, have a genuine bond with each other. They do take care of each other. They do have this kind of typical it's a girlish thing that you don't really see in boys. It's a girl thing where the bond's so deep is like they either get out of the town by they're 16 or they commit suicide together, which is never going to happen. It's just one of those things that is a bit of dark humour, but it's also a kind of close bond that actually brings them together. And what they feel is a bad situation, but it's just typical suburbia. I mean, some of their problems are in their head. Some of it is their overreaction to life. You know, it's like they don't fit in, so it's everyone else's fault why they don't fit in. It's not their fault. So they tend to prod at people and have like little talks and discuss best ways for this person to die and things. And when people hear about that, they get really mad at them. They also do these like fake suicides or fake deaths where someone's been impaled for something, or they take photographs as if it's a crime scene, which is a really nice. You get that for the actual credit sequence is really nicely done. So this bond is there. It's very tight, and they only need each other. They've got parents. One of them's the mother's played by Mimi Rogers, who's like the kind of alpha of the house. She's very much perky, but she wants everyone to grow up and be the way she wants them to be, and because it's an all-girl house based apart from the husband, she's dominance because she's dealing with the girls, and the girls are reacting against her, and her father is allowed to say a couple of things, but he's pretty much ignored, even though most of the stuff he says turns out to be accurate, much more accurate than the mother. The mother's kind of crazy, really is. You can tell why the children trying to keep a distance from her. It's like they've figured it out. She's not quite all there. She loves them, but she's not quite all there. And she's her kind of overemphasis on parenting is actually causing some of the trauma because she's too happy. It's like someone is too happy. You know, there's some trauma there, and the girls can kind of work it out. There's something that's not right, and it kind of infects their relationship with her and relationship with each other because they almost be protecting each other from her influence because they don't trust her. They just do not trust her at all. Both of them live down in the attic, no, the basement. I mean, they live in the basement together, and it kind of keeps a distance between them and her, the mother, and it's like there's definitely some unresolved things there that no one's willing to talk about. But it keeps the humour going. That thing, that relationship of a mother and daughters who can't quite talk to each other, but who are. It's just this kind of weird relationship that father and son's relationship are complicated in their own ways, but they're very different from this. So you have that relationship going on between the two sisters, and then there's all these slayings going on in the town, and these dogs are getting killed, and people are wondering. It's happened so often that they're actually making dark jokes about it. It's like, oh, you got them now. And then one day when they're out at night, something attacks them, the two girls, and Ginger gets bitten as this thing's chasing after them, and as they cross the road, it chases them and gets knocked down by a truck driven by this guy who works the city and who grows lots of pot. But he also works for the city. He actually has a job there. He's like a year or two older than the rest of them. He just moved out of school now, and he's working for the city. And he just knows there's something wrong as well. He just instantly sees something's off here. What would I have knocked down? And as time goes on, Ginger starts to change, and it becomes a metaphor for going from a child to an adult. Really, there's all this sort of imagery of these girls who are first getting their periods and stuff, and all of that, and how their bodies are changing, how they've been seen by the boys are changing, how suddenly Ginger's interested in boys when she never was before. She despised them before. And it becomes this metaphor for growing up and how it changes your relationship with people, as well as a werewolf movie, because she is changing and she is getting violent and she is very nasty about things. I mean, after her first time, she said that was it. All that for a few seconds, what? And she becomes very kind of dominant within any relationship. She always was in the relationship with her sister, but now it's extending all over everyone's relationship with her. Like, she's the alpha of any relationship. Meanwhile, Bridget becomes friendly with this guy who knocked her both down, and who also knows there's something off. And it never really becomes a romance thing. It becomes a thing of they're both trying to work it out, but they are fond of each other. It doesn't become like something that, oh, they're going to date. I mean, it's one of those relationships that's like, they're probably going to be pals. You never quite get the idea there's heat between them. It's just like they like each other. There's a bond there, but it doesn't need to be a boyfriend-girlfriend thing. But they're trying to work out a way to cure the situation, to try silver, try this herb that might actually work. But unfortunately, because it's in winter and this herb only grows in the summer, it's a problem. And it becomes a situation where they have to try and work out how to deal with Ginger as she starts getting more and more out of control, and how the relationships between different people evolve as people's bodies change over time as well. And it becomes this kind of dual thing. It's a werewolf movie and it's a metaphor for growing from a child to a woman, basically. So that's kind of the two-pronged approach it takes. Very very much like influenced by Cronenberg. The idea that genre can have more metaphors than just the basic story. And it works really well. I mean, at the time it was actually said, oh, this was too obvious. And it's like, now you look at it and go, no, it's not. It's just right. It's just exactly what it is. It doesn't try and be overly clever with it. It's just, this is a metaphor. You accept it or you don't, and that's it. And it just works. It really works. One, because the acting is so good. I mean, the acting is really good by everybody. They're all kind of, like, the supporting actors are playing their kind of cliched parts perfectly. The lead actresses are terrific. Catherine Isabelle as Ginger is wonderful, and gets Simon Perkins as the other one, is Bridget. She's great as well. And their relationship's what really drives it, because one's very much into themselves and one's much more exuberant. even she goes crazy. And it's all about this relationship that drives them further along, and it keeps everything going, and it keeps things out of control. Eventually, the younger sister has to say to the older sister, "You're way out of control. There's no way I can defend you anymore. You have gone completely out of control." And it's obvious that Ginger doesn't want to go back to where she was before because she felt useless, and now this thing gives her power, even though it's nihilistic and it will end up killing people. It gives her power that she feels is going to be denied in life. And it becomes this thing of someone you love goes insane, basically. And how do you deal with that? And Bridget's always trying to cure her, no matter what, because that's her link to life. And eventually she has to learn to let go and just say, like, this person's irredeemable. You cannot help them anymore. They are irredeemable. And it's just wonderful. It's a wonderful movie. I'd highly recommend going and see it. I mean, it's kind of like a werewolf version of Heavenly Creatures, but with sisters rather than friends. There's that idea of this bond that actually becomes toxic, but it's very needed as well, and it's very difficult. And there's not that many films about friendship between young women who plays up the complexity. Normally it's this sentimentality that never quite feels real. In this kind of film, this feels much more real. This feels much more like what you'd see in real life. So I hope I did this justice. I hope this review gets you interested in watching Ginger Snaps, because Ginger Snaps is really good and it's really worth your time. So that's me for now. I'll be back soon with another video.